So the last line of 160, I'll begin reading, and then we'll move on. Because he says that we don't know the great theme that these agencies, these cosmic agencies in their inscrutable work, we don't know what that theme that they serve, because only the fringe of a wide surge we see. Our instruments have not that greater light. Our will tunes not with the eternal will. And then we have to talk a little bit about this eternal will. But I'll complete the sentence. Our heart's sight is too blind and passionate. Now, this is a very interesting statement because, it is said that the heart is often blind, and of course, it's often passionate, very passionate. And that makes it blind, that passion. So let's go back now to the beginning and we'll see what he says. He says, only the fringe of a wide surge we see. Our instruments are our mind, our life, our vital. Our instruments have not that greater light. Our will tunes not with the eternal will. What a powerful line. Our will tunes not with the eternal will. But let's see, because Sri Aurobindo capitalizes the word will, what he says in a few sentences about will. Because he speaks of will as an energy that creates the world. And that energy can be nothing else than a will. And a will is only consciousness applying itself to a work and a result. That's from the Life Divine. I'm paraphrasing a little. But he also says in the Letters on Yoga, will is the pressure of a conscious force on nature. And in the Life Divine, he says what becomes desire in the ego is will in the spirit. Very, very important to understand those aspects of the will. And the mother says that will is the power of consciousness turned towards effectuation. So we see now that our heart's sight is too blind and passionate. Now we have the word impotent, and many people pronounce it impotent, but it is impotent. Means powerless to achieve something, lacking the strength or the ability, impotent to share in nature's mystic tact. Mystic tact, a tact. Very, very interesting. Inapt to feel the pulse and core of things. Our reason cannot sound life's mighty sea, and only counts its waves and scans its foam. It knows not whence these motions touch and pass. It sees not whither sweeps the hurrying flood. Only it strives to canalize its powers and hopes to turn its course to human ends. But all its means come from the inconscious store. Oh, there's a lot to cover here. Notice how Sri Aurobindo always uses these symbols and repeats them. So we have something that cannot sound life's mighty sea. To sound something means to measure it, to fathom it, to ascertain it. When before the digital age, when they wanted to sound the depth of the sea, they would put a line down with a piece of lead at the bottom, and then they would pull that rope up and they would have the measurement of the depth of the sea. So he says our reason cannot sound life's mighty sea. So let's go back again to the beginning here. Our heart's sight is too blind and passionate, impotent to share in nature's mystic tact. Now, what are we going to see here, this mystic tact? Sri Aurobindo says mystic here means occult, simply something hidden. It's not miraculous, it's mystical. It has a spiritual reality, a spiritual importance, and it's usually not apparent to the intelligence or the senses. Inapt. Inapt means, in this case, it has a couple of definitions, but in this case, it is clearly not inclined or disposed. So inapt to feel the pulse and core of things. Inapt can also be incapable or without capacity. So inapt to feel the pulse and the core of things, our reason cannot sound life's mighty sea. So here's an example of the sea. And then we have waves, and then we have foam, and then we have flood. See how Sri Aurobindo uses these symbols to impress upon our consciousness the importance of these words. Now, we have something called a sounding lead, and that is a plummet, as I mentioned, that is attached to sounding lines. And they used to measure the depth of the sea like that. So our reason cannot sound life's mighty sea, and only counts its waves and scans its foam, because the reason doesn't have the ability to go deep enough. It knows not whence these motions touch and pass. It sees not whither sweeps the hurrying flood. Whither, a very famous old word, which means to what place or where. It sees not whither sweeps the hurrying flood. Only it strives to canalize its powers. To canalize is to give a direction or an outlet for something, to regulate it or to control it, and hopes to turn its course to human ends. But all its means come from the inconscient store. So we are seeing that in this canto of the Godheads of the Little Life, that all of these attempts are just coming from the inconscient store. And I've read it to you before, but I will read it again because it's from the letters on Savitri, where Sri Aurobindo tells the disciple, the inconscient and the ignorance may be mere empty abstractions and can be dismissed as irrelevant jargon if one has not come in collision with them or plunged into their dark and bottomless reality. And now he uses the first person, which he rarely uses. But to me, they are realities, concrete powers whose resistance is present everywhere and at all times in its tremendous and boundless mass. So we'll move on. Unseen here, act dim, huge world energies, and only trickles and currents are our share, Yes, we are fortunate at times not to be aware of these huge world energies because they're very often dark, but they can be full of light also. But now we are seeing on this earth a lot of dark world energies attempting to take over humanity. So our share are only trickles and currents of these dim, look at this, dim, huge world energies who act here. Our mind lives far off from the authentic light, catching at little fragments of the truth in a small corner of infinity. Our lives are inlets of an ocean's force. Look here again. An inlet is an indentation of a shoreline. Usually it's long and narrow. It could be a small bay or something like that, but it's basically just an inlet of an ocean's force. And he says that's our lives. Our lives are simply inlets, and we live in a small corner of infinity. Our conscious movements have sealed origins, but with those shadowy seeds, no converse hold. So no conversation, no discussion, no understanding binds our comrade parts. Our acts emerge from a crypt our minds ignore. So this is extremely important here because our mind will not agree with our vital. Our vital will not agree with our body. So we are just a mass of different aspects in this initial quadrant of matter, body, life, and mind. Only when we can rise to a higher level, beginning with a higher mind, and as we've learned, of course, transcending into the illumined and intuitive and the overmind, can we see the truth of ourselves. But right now, our conscious movements have sealed origins. We don't know where they come from. We say something and we don't even realize what we've said. We might have said something very, very offensive. So our conscious movements have sealed origins, but with those shadowy seeds, no converse hold, no understanding binds our comrade parts. Our acts emerge from a crypt our minds ignore. And we see this in our fellow humans, that they may act impulsively with anger or violence without the acceptance or the permission of the mind. So he tells us here our acts emerge from a crypt. A crypt is a tunnel, a cellar, a vault, or a chamber. From a crypt our minds ignore. Our deepest depths are ignorant of themselves. Even our body is a mystery shop. As our earth's roots lurk screened below our earth, so lie unseen our roots of mind and life. He's telling us like it is, as we say colloquially. Our deepest depths are ignorant of themselves. Even our body is a mystery shop. Of course, it's full of mysteries. It gets diseases. It can live for 50 years or 100 or 150 or more. And we're seeing that all the time. People talking about how the body can live much longer than we think it can, but it's still a mystery shop. And as our Earth's roots lurk screened below our Earth, so the roots, our earthly roots, are even screened below our Earth, our physical Earth. And so lie unseen our roots of mind and life. Our springs are kept close hid beneath, within. Our souls are moved by powers behind the wall. In the subterranean reaches of the spirit, a puissance acts and recks not what it means. Using unthinking monitors and scribes, it is the cause of what we think and feel. So this puissance is behind everything, and it is a power. Sri Aurobindo says in The Life Divine, aware of the divine as the master of our being and action, we can learn to become channels of his Shakti, the divine puissance, and act according to her dictates or her rule of light and power within us. So in these subterranean reaches of the spirit, this puissance is acting. And when it doesn't wreck here is care about or consider even, and recks not what it means, because it is using unthinking monitors and scribes. Now, that's very powerful because a monitor is someone who observes or supervises. And scribes, of course, are clerks, basically. So this puissance is using unthinking monitors and scribes, and it is the cause of what we think and feel. I'll go a little bit more, and we'll conclude today. The troglodytes of the subconscious mind, they have to go ill-trained, slow, stammering interpreters, only of their small tasks routine aware, and busy with the record in ourselves. Now, there's a lot here to go through, and I have to go to the next slide, 162. So we have seen so much about ourselves in this passage. And now we have this line, the troglodytes of the subconscious mind. A troglodyte is actually a cave dweller, but in prehistoric races, people lived in caves or dens, and they were considered at times a very fabulous race of people. But the troglodytes of the subconscious mind, Sri Aurobindo says, in us is the extreme border of our secret inner existence, where it meets the inconscient. It is a degree of our being in which the inconscient struggles into a half consciousness. so very important. The troglodytes of the subconscious mind, what do? They're ill-trained, slow, stammering interpreters, but they're only of their small tasks routine aware. They're not aware of anything else but the small tasks routine. And they are busy with the record in our cells. Now, I won't make a mistake going to the next line. So we're going to see now. Concealed in the subliminal secrecies and mid an obscure occult machinery, capture the mystic Morse, whose measured lilt, and there's so much here, transmits the messages of the cosmic force. Whoa. This is so complex. Subliminal, of course, is below the threshold of sensation or consciousness. So they are concealed in the subliminal secrecies. And Sri Aurobindo says a lot about the subliminal. And he says in a letter on yoga, but the role of subliminal forces cannot be said to be small, since from there come all the greater aspirations, ideals, striving towards a better self and better humanity, without which man would be only a thinking animal. Wow. Mid an obscure occult machinery. Obscure, of course, is something that's gloomy or dark. And occult simply means here hidden from view, concealed. And it's not occultism here. But they capture the mystic Morse, whose measured lilt transmits the messages of the cosmic force. This mystic, and he doesn't want us to understand mystic in the way that most people do. So in his book on himself, he defines it carefully. I used the word mystic in the sense of a certain kind of inner seeing and feeling of things, a way which to the intellect would seem occult and visionary. For this is something different from imagination, and it's work with which the intellect is familiar. And then he speaks of the mystic. The mystic feels real and present, even ever present to his experience, intimate to his being, truths which to the ordinary reader are intellectual abstractions or metaphysical speculations. To the mystic, there is no such thing as an abstraction. Vladimir, would you like to add something? Because we're getting near our time, and then I would need someone to read.
What comes to me, it's quite interesting because we discussed exactly this, how yoga is done. What is really yoga? What we have to do with our senses. And you begin with this, only the fringe of a wide surge we see only a very small, narrow spectrum of reality. Our instruments have not that great a light. And so how to bring the greater light to the instruments is actually a yoga. So we have to, as he says on the Upanishads, because we read Upanishads, that our senses, our jnanendriyas have to become consciously passive, so disinterested in trying to satisfy themselves, and open up and receive the inner light of the Brahman. And
Yes.
once they become the mediators of that inner greater light and allow it to reach to the surface, then they fulfill their purpose. They will connect the inner and outer. And here our instruments have not that greater light. And because of that, they do not know what is happening. They see only small fringe with their small light they have. And so this is the thought which came to me. That's a very beautiful justification for this.
Thank you so much. Who will read for us today? May I ask you, Ashwini? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful.
Just to be sure, do I read until the capture the mystic Morse whose measure tilt transmits the messages? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Only the fringe of a wide surge we see. Our instruments have not that greater light. Our will tunes not with the eternal will. Our heart's sight is too blind and passionate, impotent to share in nature's mystic tact, inapt to feel the pulse and core of things. Our reason cannot sound life's mighty sea, and only counts its waves and scans its foam. It knows not whence these motions touch and pass. It sees not whither sweeps the hurrying flood. Only it strives to canalize its powers and hopes to turn its course to human ends. But all its means come from the inconscience store. Unseen here act dim, huge world energies, and only trickles and currents are our share. Our mind lives far off from the authentic light, catching at little fragments of the truth. In a small corner of infinity, our lives are inlets of an ocean's force. Our conscious movements have sealed origins, but with those shadowy seeds, no converse hold, no understanding binds our comrade paths. Our acts emerge from a crypt our minds ignore. Our deepest depths are ignorant of themselves. Even our body is a mystery shop, as our earth's roots lurk screened below our earth. So lie unseen our roots of mind and life. Our springs are kept close, hid beneath, within. Our souls are moved by powers behind the wall. In the subterranean reaches of the spirit, a poison's acts and recks not what it means, using unthinking monitors and scribes. It is the cause of what we think and feel. The troglodytes of the subconscious mind, ill-trained, slow, stammering interpreters, only of their small tasks routine aware, and busy with the record in ourselves, concealed in the subliminal secrecies, mid an obscure occult machinery, capture the mystic Morse whose measured lilt transmits the messages of the cosmic force.
Very good. Just two small comments. You do pronounce "and" properly in the beginning of a line, but I don't hear the "d" in the middle of a line.
Okay.
And something for everyone to remember, that when Sri Aurobindo is giving us a sentence with many commas, semicolons, or colons, we should not drop the word at the end of the line. So we want to see, we can drop it at the very end after the full stop. And only trickles and currents are our share. So to remember those two things, everyone, and I thank you all so much. It's been a wonderful evening, difficult, but very powerful. Namaste.
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 Thank you.
Namaste. All right.
Namaste.